bottom lane has been giving up a lot of deaths. WildTurtle right now, most deaths for an AD carry. He actually is the only AD carry who has more deaths than kills. And Lemonnation has actually yet to play a melee support this split. So he's a little bit behind in the playmaking times, but they're kind of looking for High and Moon to make those plays. So I'm wondering if they're going to adhere to the meta a little bit more as the weeks develop, or if FlyQuest are going to stick to their guns, because that's how it's always been for Lemonnation, right? He's always been a meta breaker in a way. Back when Ashe and Zyra weren't really played, was one of the first people to play that combo. Even when Karma wasn't a support, he was one of the first people to bring that out too.
I mean, look, patch change here in 7-12. Maybe there is a change here on the horizon for the team, but we're pretty into the draft now for TSM FlyQuest. LeBlanc, Orianna, and Gragas all banned out there for TSM, and Caitlyn, Galio, and Zac, the FlyQuest band. So a lot of different champions being pretty keenly targeted.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because the Lee Sin being picked up, Rek'Sai still on the table. They're just taking that away from Moon, but I feel like it's just because it's Svenskeren's best champion right now. Fans are always saying, teams are losing against TSM because they keep giving them Lee Sin. Well, they're picking up first pick here, kind of reinforcing that this is the pick for the team.
Well, already some changes here for FlyQuest, though. Tahm, Kench, and Jhin are actually the first two picks, so Jhin continuing to meteorically rise back up in the pick order for ADs. I mean, only one banned on Caitlyn, everything else was up, and the first overall pick for Fly is this AD.
Yeah, I actually really think Jhin is strong. People have figured out, Youmuu's Ghostblade into Infinity Edge or just Infinity Edge and start going towards the rest of your build, but he actually does do very well with the Energizer build, and with a Tahm Kench next to him, that's going to help WildTurtle in that safety department, and this is the first time that we've seen Lemonnation on a melee support this split.
Yep, on for the Tahm there, as Syndra is picked up for Bjergsen and TSM. Pretty safe blind pick there for him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bans against TSM. They receive 71% Syndra bans. So Syndra is the most banned champion against TSM, and it made it through today. And they picked it up knowing that they can see, FlyQuest will be able to see what the mid lane is and have a good matchup for High.
Yeah, it feels like it blocks off kind of a number of picks High might want to take, and of course it's a very safe pick for him. Braum is the other champion TSM have picked up to finish phase 1, and there's Rumble actually for balls, so a lot of comfort there on that pick in particular for them, but it is also fun to see, again, a lot of more meta changes. Braum, to me, haven't quite figured out why he's emerged back in the meta, but a lot of players are picking him up again.
Yeah, a lot of people were attributing the whole Doran's shield changes to it, but Doran's shield got nerfed a little bit here, so it's not as good because you don't have 2 potions at the start. But I feel like Braum, just in general, people said, oh, somebody who can make plays, prevent plays, has a good level 1, and has kill potential in the laning phase. So this is another champion that's built for protection. They can get double-lift a hyper carry if they want to. But the interesting thing here for me is FlyQuest now have an AP top laner with the Rumble, so they can run an AD mid like a Zed, or even the Lucian that just got banned out.
Yeah, Lucian banned. Talon also another big pick for High, so that's available. But Renekton and Fiora are going to get banned away from Hauntzer, so some of the more deadly and aggressive top laners getting taken out here. And there's the Zed ban. Good read by TSM.
Yeah, banning away the Zed. It was something that got banned against FlyQuest last week, and it was kind of that head-scratcher. We haven't seen him play it yet. But this is going to be interesting because also, we don't know what's going to be played in that Rumble, but you can play Jarvan, you can play Camille. Kennen is up right now for Hauntzer as well.
Well, also a Jarvan pickup here, so a lot of things being mixed up already. I mean, I'm pretty sure High has played a mid-Jarvan game within the last year. So there is possibility there. I mean, Rumble can jungle. There's a lot of different flexibility here.
Jarvan can jungle as well. Jarvan right now in solo queue, 52% win rate jungler, so it's not bad in the jungle. And we've seen Moon pull things out like Kindred, etc. Glad I think can really work out for him here. But with Rek'Sai on the table, it is a little bit of both. A head scratcher.
That's actually Tristana picked up for DoubleLift, another champion that's kind of rising back up into the bot lane.
Yeah, people are going, oh, Static Shiv is incredibly good. It clears out caster minions when you crit it. Why not just go with a crit build? And that would be so good in this competition. You can keep her safe with the fact that she has her own way of like jumping away and keeping herself peeled. And then you have the Braum on top of it just to make it even harder to kill the Tristana.
Well, Biofrost having some fun. The last pick, though, is Shen. That'll be Hauntzer's champion in the top lane. So we'll have to see how FlyQuest wants to finish off this draft. And maybe more importantly, just exactly where all these champions are going.
But I like this because FlyQuest, they're kind of sticking to their guns and playing a lot of meta things or old meta things with like the lack of a range support. But now it seemed like they've made a lot of adjustments. Where is this Jarvan going? Where's this Rumble going? It's going to be a Rumble top, Corki mid, like we were saying in 7-12, Corki got some buffs, got shifted towards magic damage. It looks like it's Jarvan jungle here.
Yep, so High, understandably, he's going to be playing Corki here. I thought he might stray away from it with the Syndra, but High feeling confident.
Well, one of the things I like about Corki mid is they take exhaust typically. So they can run double exhaust in this composition up against Bjergsen's Syndra. So the Corki can stand a good chance. Hex Drinker early on after Trinity Force could be a good buy for him. But the changes to Corki were he got a base AD increase, which means he gets a little more damage out of Trinity Force. He got an attack speed increase, which means buying Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon is even better on him. But then also his passive that made it a 50-50 split in Magic Physical is now 80% Magic, 20% Physical. So that means Sork Shoes is even better. Void Staff is even better because he's doing a larger majority of his damage is Magic damage now.
Yeah, just really is kind of a Magic damage champion. He was considered that in a lot of ways when he was being played in the mid lane, but now really fitting that identity. So certainly, again, this new patch may have heralded some new life for FlyQuest and at least their draft phase. Very excited to see Jarvan jungle here for Moon, and High, we expected he to be the one to bust out Corki, and he has not disappointed us here in game number 1.
Not at all. And looking at it, FlyQuest, High is actually going to take Teleport here to possibly go for a 1-3-1, so no double exhaust here for the Corki mid.
I think understanding that, you know what, this lane's probably going to be a bit rough, does help you get through the laning phase as well. So kind of fun to see how that all shakes out. I wonder if a lack of friends is going to cost him, but we'll have to think about that later, because we have a game 2 start the crowd. It's been awfully great so far. We'll see what happens as we get onto the Rift for game 1. TSM versus FlyQuest.
Like you said, a lot of rivalries here on the Rift. WildTurtle versus DoubleLift. Bjergsen versus High. We got some classics.
Certainly do. In fact, TSM might be stacking together as 4. Makes a lot of sense with that level 1 of Braum that you mentioned.
Exactly.
So might have been spot High here hiding in the brush.
If they hug the wall, this is kind of what happened at MSI.
He got tagged. No
Right.
clashing in, but Valkyrie forced to be taken and used.
Exactly. Valkyrie level 1 will stop his shoving power. He will have some auto attacks onto Bjergsen, but the difference between actually going for the auto attacks versus the Q onto the minion wave from the Syndra is big. So she'll have the shoving power.
Nice trade there from Hauntzer. Actually, now going back in onto balls, but Moon is going to complete his recall. Did have to use some potion. Thankfully, it is a refill, so doesn't lose any efficiency there.
Yeah, so what happened in that level 1 is TSM get a lot of information. They get wards down on the blue buff and on the Raptor camp, so they'll have a pretty high chance of seeing where Moon actually starts here, whether it's the Raptors. But if he starts red buff, they actually won't know unless it's based off of the leash.
Well, Turtle just sticking around. See if he can't get a little bit of vision. Looks like a red start loop for Svenskeren. Duolan's going to help out there. And Moon, we can see still around that red buff area.
Yeah, so he won't be spotted out here unless Hauntzer goes for an invade. Hauntzer sees balls come back, or they'll know when the bottom lane shows because they didn't leash.
Well, you can see Moon and Balls going to team up here for this first buff. Moon is going to smite this by the looks of things, so nothing super crazy coming out, just very standard leashes here.
Yeah.
Hauntzer, though, runs into Balls, and he's going to get some really good trade damage down. So Hauntzer kind of abusing all the information he had and just staying for a bit of extra damage.
Yep, got those 4 auto attacks off on him, and Moon just clears out the...
Oh my.
Looks like he went for level 2. Didn't go for Raptors there, but looking for a mid lane gank. But he was spotted by the ward. The ward timed out a little bit later.
Yeah, Bjergsen playing on the correct side here. Only level 1, no flash. Oh, not going to quite connect as the knockback does come out. Bjergsen still has his flash. He's going to ghost away as High. Looks to get aggressive. They're really trying to take him down, but Bjergsen holds on to his second summoner spell.
Yeah, just uses the ghost there. High didn't hit level 2 yet.
Oh no!
Svenskeren!
Sven though knocked up, and now Lemonnation drummed up. Biofrost to the right.
Turtle!
Save him, Turtle. Looks to try and get the damage down. Heal by Double. It's going to save him as Turtle gets stunned.
And you can see just the difference in the shoving power means a lot there. DoubleLift already level 2, WildTurtle no level 2 there for a Deadly Flourish, and it's those types of differences. Bjergsen hit 2, so he had Scatter the Weak and was able to knock back the Jarvan a little bit, whereas High wasn't level 2 before that gank came through.
Great rims by both supports as well, and we have a lot of action already. FlyQuest, I like that they're trying something a little different, but they used a lot of resources and got nothing of it.
Yeah, and Svenskeren was rather aggressive there. He did, I believe, take away the blue buff, so that didn't go over to Moon, and was able to get out of the jungle with it too. So that was what cost his flash.
Yep, risky invade, but pays off there as TSM collapse to save their jungle up. Bjergsen's back, then a pair of boots, wanting to dodge the next sequence of ganks that might come through. And now in the actual 2v2, now that everyone's staying in their lanes for a little while longer, Like you said, some early shot power there for DoubleLift, treating him to a very early and very slight CS.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference here is going to be the jungle, because Jarvan is actually quite far behind. He picked up his jungle item, or second part of his jungle item after backing, but he hasn't cleared any of his camps except his buffs. And we all know the buffs have those longer respawn timers, but these camps mean Svenskeren is a level and a half up, and Moon still has to...
Oh, great stun. The Q misses though for Sven. Still going to get the slowdown onto high. He was forced to flash.
Yeah, didn't hit that Q, and that may have been the big difference there. But they do get the flash out. So Svenskeren actually able to apply some mid-pressure here, because Moon pretty much has no pressure until he clears his camps. You want to clear them so they come up again and have those extra levels on them, so you get more experience. And that's where Svenskeren is now, is at the point where his Raptors will be coming up shortly. He'll be able to clear that out, and he'll be pretty close to level 5 after just a few more camps here.
Yeah, and while it might not look like a huge lead at the moment, you can see that kind of all bear out. Svenskeren kind of goes back to farming his jungle. Moon hitting mid once again, but this lane is pushing towards the turret.
It's pushing. If he's not getting the Raptors here or getting something off on Bjergsen, then it's kind of a misplay, because his Gromp hasn't been killed, his Raptors haven't been killed, his Wolves haven't been killed, and his Krugs haven't been killed. He's very far behind right now.
Yeah, Moon maybe spending a little too much time trying to gank. Actually, bottom lane again. Maybe looking for something here.
Yep. Deadly Flourish comes through and they get the flash on Bio.
Tries to get out of the way. Lemonnation hungry, but no food just yet. DoubleLift able to get out. Biofrost did have to burn the flash there, so Moon is finally going to return back to the jungle and start farming, but Sven, like you said, is power clearing all the small camps that are respawned. He's level 4 to 3 right now, and could be an even bigger experience lead, depending on what Sven chooses to do.
Yeah, there is a mechanic in the jungle that's comeback experience. So if you're lower than the average level in the game, which if you look at Moon, he's level 3, everybody else on his team is 4 or higher. Everybody else in the game is 4 or higher. So he'll actually get more experience off the camps than normal because of the fact that he's behind the average level of the game. It's kind of this comeback. There's a comeback mechanic that when I first experienced it, I was getting invaded over and over and over again. I was actually level 1 to level 4, and then I killed 2 camps and I was level 3, and I was like, wait a second. And I was just back in the game, 1 level behind the guy. And I was like, this is actually dumb. How are you catching up so fast?
See if Moon catches up quite that quickly, as Hauntzer did take a bit of a beating there from balls to TP back to lane with boots and a cloth armor, I believe, joining the Doran shield that he started with. Looks like Hauntzer's going to do the same. He's got a Spectre's Calmo though, and this is usually where Shen starts to tip the balance in a lot of his matchups. And while we haven't seen too much of the top lane just yet, Hauntzer looking good just now. And Rumble did get a pretty big suite of changes as well. And I think people are still playing the champion, but it's hard to say exactly what the nerfs did.
Yeah,
the changes did, because he kind of got buffed as well.
Exactly. It's an AP ratio buff to his Q, but his Q has a 10-second instead of 6-second cooldown, but its overall DPS increased level 1, but you can't overheat with just using it. So your level 1 is weaker unless you're overheating, right? It's like it's this weird kind of back and forth, but you can't overheat. So anyway, the Rumble changes means that later on, he's actually a little bit stronger because he has a better AP ratio on his Q. His W has a stronger shield on it, slightly lower duration by 0.5 seconds, and his E also just got a damage increase. So late game Rumble is better, but his lane phase took a slight hit.
Well, Lemonnation getting forced out and does burn the flash over the wall. WildTurtle destroys the blast cone, not wanting anyone to sneak into this bottom half. I guess kind of realizing that the lane is pushing in. DoubleLift and Biofrost having a pretty nice lead in the lane so far, wanting to play back a little more defensively, and looks at Biofrost looking to recall himself, gets tagged by Lemonnation's tongue. The DoubleLift now going to go back himself. Yeah, again, Tahm's going to cancel it.
Yeah, going to cancel it. WildTurtle actually with the CS lead for himself here in the bottom side.
It's done, Lemonnation under fire. Biofrost and DoubleLift doing a nice job getting those combos down. A lot of early power between Braum and Tristana. Bio kind of eats a few too many auto attacks in that trade. Yeah,
but it does mean that because you have the Jhin who's low mobility and then you have the Tahm Kench, Tristana can never really punish the positioning of the Jhin and jump forward, or the Braum can't W to a minion and start trying to stun the Jhin because he just gets eaten up there.
A risk perhaps by Svenskeren, but Biofrost is going to move over to try and protect him. Blue buff attempt number 2. Svenskeren looking to steal it away, and much safer this time around, does cleanly take it.
Yeah, FlyQuest do see this though because of that ward that's off there on the side. They actually see Svenskeren right now as well, looking for a possible dive because he's level 6, and they're bringing Bjergsen down too. But WildTurtle gets the back off, goes for Yombu's Ghostblade parts. He's going to try to run back down here to lane as they call off the dive too.
Yep, Sven just decides instead he'll take the Grump. Berg goes back to lane and looks to push that out, and Moon trying to steal away some camps, but not a lot for him to take.
Yeah, but watch what Hauntzer does here. Hauntzer's actually going to check this area because he says, all right, I know that there's no other possibility except for Moon to be on the side, and catches him out so he can't take the Braum.
I mean, Moon's level 5 as well. Hauntzer is 7, so not really a fight that Moon can afford to pick up, and still no ultimate available for the FlyQuest jungler. So Moon has had a lot of early attempts trying to get aggressive in these lanes, but nothing has worked so far.
And right now, TSM are saying they want to take your blue, so Hauntzer will ward it up, or like at least hang around that area because he didn't have the ward at the time. Balls will try to shove, and now Svenskeren's backed, purchased, making sure that he's a little bit stronger, and Hauntzer will try to fight here a bit to try and force balls out, so they can't go for a blue at all.
Yeah, Hauntzer pressuring, Bjergsen shoves out his lane, and Svenskeren is there to make sure that donation happens. So many blue buffs actually denied away. I believe every single blue has been taken from FlyQuest early on in this game, and now Bjergsen is going to go to the mid lane with a Syndra that already has lost chapter, getting an early summoner advantage, and things going to go from bad to worse here.
Yeah. Phased as well for High, so he'll have a little bit of survivability in this lane alongside the Null Magic Mantle. It isn't the worst of times for Corki either. Also, an interesting thing to note as well for the Corki is that he went for Warlord's Bloodlust, and it used to be that Corki would take Thunderlords, you'd use the E, and you'd be able to get the Gatling gun shots on people, and it would just add up. But people have moved a little bit more towards this, where it gives you the sustain in lane, survivability, and the movement speed burst to chase people down. And when you're going for Energizer builds like a Static Shiv and a Rapid Fire Cannon, that'll help charge it up faster and add an IE on top. When you heal off of the AD that you're doing, or the AD inventory, then it's just a really good pickup where you're critting and getting like 300 plus HP late game.
Well, I like this a lot from FlyQuest, trying to get aggressive with the package there. Moon also level 6, so pretty full screen initiation ready to go here. And FlyQuest are standing firm in this 2v2, going to force them off this control ward and get vision on the right-hand side of mid, but package time's out high. Can only burn down the wave.
Yeah, it doesn't get much of the wave either. There's a hesitancy to actually walk up and then use it to go backwards.
I feel like sometimes Corki players just like run out of patience. Like, it's not an out, I'll just use it. Yeah. It looks pretty. But first package not super successful there for High. Chunk there from Bjergsen, but High threatening with those missiles. Bjergsen just going to go ahead and leave, and looks like he's trying to get a bit of vision for himself. Maybe even go topside as Hauntzer getting shoved back in by balls, with Bjergsen does indeed find that control ward and will be able to take that out.
Takes out, throws some balls on the ground at the same time. Just in case somebody were to come out of the bush, you'd have something set up for them.
Now actually another play set up in bottom lane here. Svenskeren and Biofrost ready with their ultimates. Might even be trying the long con, invading in, maybe looking for a dive.
Yeah.
Or just try and find Moon.
They don't see him though with that, and now they see him with the ward. So covering all the areas and camps with both the Scryer's Bloom and the ward. See Moon.
It's been a very patient start to this game as well. I mean, after the early level 2 gank from Moon and the subsequent attempts he made in different lanes, kind of all of that action so far. TSM happy to play a more controlled game, but FlyQuest are not.
TSM, go.
This is a the big flank balls with a good CP. The kick on the Moon is Sven. He's going to flash towards him. Biofrost are caught out. He's going to burn down. First blood goes to Lemon as Sven assassinates Moon, but he's going to go down as well. Kill over the balls. Great flank from FlyQuest.
Yeah, that was a great flank, like you said. The teleport from Balls and the Abyssal Voyage from Lemonnation. And then Moon just barely able to get out of there, which means that the Shen is not in a great position when he's delivered because Svenskeren chases, and Svenskeren eventually takes the Q in to finally finish off a kill and get something back. But it's 2 for 1 in favor of FlyQuest, but they're still down in gold right now because of the CS differences in lane.
All right.
And yeah, TP comes through as Moon goes in, and then the Abyssal Voyage from Lemonnation. So they're cut off from like all angles. That's a good equalizer to stop them from running away from the incoming members. But that right there, that was interesting from Moon, because you saw him actually hop up a little bit. It looked like he tried to Cataclysm right there, but he died at like the same frame. So might have actually bugged out his timer too, because you can see it's not showing us.
Interesting. Well, we'll find out in a second, but turning to normalcy now after that play. Jungler's dying means that Drake, not really an objective teams wanted to contest, so it looks like everyone's just gone back and spent some of their money. Bjergsen with a Morello Nomicon all finished. High's got 2 of 3 Trinity Force components ready to go. And Yomiz is actually done for total also. With balls timing that Haunting guys. So DoubleLift could be a Zeal next, moving into more of that static shift if he just want to sit on these AD components, or he could go for Infinity Edge and kind of do the more standard AD build. But he is going to need a little bit more time to start scaling up, and Turtle pretty much ready to go right now. Things should get better here for Jhin.
Yeah, I love this Jhin build because it has a lot of AD behind it immediately, and the lethality actually goes a long way later in the game against all these squishies who will never buy any pieces of armor like the Tristana. So you go ahead and you just buy the Omu's Ghostblade, then you start moving towards Infinity Edge, rapid fire cannon, so you have extra range.
Looks like the FlyQuest solution to high struggles in mid lane are to move him to the bot lane. Yeah. Does have TP, although it's not up right now, but pretty happy just 1v2 clearing out the waves, and Bjergsen is going to struggle in any sort of 1v2 this early on, so we'll see if TSM want to match this swap as well. But Turtle, happy to play Seeds Master here in mid lane.
Yeah, Bjergsen will actually be okay if they set this up correctly because he has the Marillanomicon and they have a blue buff coming up shortly, but they don't have enough members on the top side to actually contest a blue, so it could be FlyQuests for the taking because they have 2 members on the bottom side of TSM, whereas only 1 from Fly. But they don't set it up. It looks like Moon's just going for it back, and it will be what I assume a Warrior into Black Cleaver build for the Jarvan.
Doctor out there for high, actually got tagged by Biofrost. No Lemonnation coming down, bring a Turtle with him. Now 3v3 as Sven's also arrived, but Biofrost, good ultimate, will disengage.
Yeah, Lemonnation, so far the Abyssal Voyages, frequent. That's what I like to see from Tahm Kench players, is they're at least looking for the Abyssal Voyages and throwing them out. So we've seen 2 so far. He's only level 7, so I like seeing that. A lot of Tahm Kenches that just hold on to that ability forever and don't make those plays. So that's a point plus for Lemonnation there. Because he's kind of been passive lately.
He has. I mean, a lot of good cross map really available for FlyQuest. It's nice to see them again going back to more what they used to, just starting fights so frequently that even if they lost a few or traded more evenly, at some point you had to give away to the pressure. And sometimes, yes, that was FlyQuest as well. They also caved to their own aggression, but more often than not, they would get it right. High tries to get himself out of the way. Biofrost looking to tag him up at Lemonnation there with the save. Tahm Kench is a fun killer, man.
Oh, looking for a kill on Hauntzer here.
Solo kill here for Balls. Grass does proc for Hauntzer, but Balls still chasing him down. Overheated, forcing the taunt away. Actually flash burned as well.
Yeah, gets the flash out of him, throws down the equalizer. And so with that, Leandres ends up doing a lot of damage. Even though it is a Spectre's Cal and a Dorage Shield, that's if you're getting like Deathfire touch checks. Hold on, though, sniping Bjergsen.
Oh, Bjergsen tries to flash out. Moon does get stunned before he can cataclysm away, but a great deadly flourish from Moon looking to complete the dunk. Bjergsen, though, ghosting away to safety.
Yeah, Moon actually had the ultimate there, but didn't have the vision. Bjergsen ducked away right into the bush right on time, because if he buffers that, you can't be disabled during the Cataclysm cast, and it would have stopped the Scatter the Weak stun.
Well, all the attempts on the lives of TSM don't quite go right for FlyQuest, and instead TSM collect the Drake for themselves. Hauntzer going to TP back to that top lane after taking a massive amount of damage from Balls, and might feel a bit safer now with that Charm Fist for a bit of extra health. Also has a backup Ruby Crystal, but Hauntzer is definitely kind of piecing together that first major item, setting himself up for this laner. Balls is already ready to fight, goes back, gets Ninja Tab, and that next TP from Balls, the first song was pretty good. He's got it back now, and maybe even more impactful in the next fight.
Yeah, and it's that Titanic Hydra coming through for Hauntzer as the first item after the magic resist. See, once he starts clearing the waves, because he wants to kind of be almost a non-interactive lane for a little bit, and then he'll have an ability to deal a lot of damage to Balls while not taking as much himself once he completes a few magic resist items. I feel like you go for 2 magic resist items this game, maybe one of them being Gargoyle Stoneplate, because High is really just heavy on magic damage as this Corki.
Well, High looking for another play with the package, but it goes over to the Drake pit.
It's a rotational play.
It is. Back down the bottom lane here. TSM, though, have matched that early rotation from FlyQuest, so it's 4 people in the mid lane just battling 2v2, and with that early Mountain Drake for TSM, they might be able to get an edge.
They're going for Bjergsen.
Out of the way. No, wants the Bjergsen. It's actually a double play. Good stun, though, from Bjergsen. Going to buy time for Hauntzer to stand tonight, and NCP is also coming out, but that's for Fly to reinforce the Balls. Now Bjergsen cataclysmed up, does get the ulti out of the High, but he doesn't quite get the kill as he gets eaten by a Lemon. Now Biofrost getting chased, but Sven tries to get it as Hauntzer does secure the kill. Back on a High, Biofrost, sorry, DoubleLift fighting away. Looking for Balls and Totem, but the exhaust does come out. Now Moon looking to weave his way back to Svenskeren, picks up the kill. Such a chaotic fight as Total forced to flash out of the way. The taunt misses for Hauntzer. Now looking in onto Balls, but I think TSM should have enough to clean this up. Fly started it all, but TSM are going to end it. Total forced to Sven, tag onto Lemonnation. DoubleLift's going to move through as Sven makes such a massive impact in that fight.
And that looked like it was going to go FlyQuest's way. It ends up being a 4v5 because they pick off Bjergsen, but TSM come up with 4 members and only lose Bjerger.
That was a very strange fight on 2 different fronts with everybody joining the party. Bjerg gets picked off early, and I have no idea how Sven did so much work with Hauntzer there, but
yeah,
cleaned up the fight certainly.
So they're fighting on the right side here, and this is key because what happens is Balls comes in and has Equalizer. He wants to throw down an Equalizer in a good spot, only gets it on a Biofrost. It's not sectioning off DoubleLift or anything like that, and he's not helping out on the right side of the fight either. So we'll look for that here, whereas they get Bjergsen, they section him off. The Devour is not necessary in that moment, and they throw it out, and Hauntzer gets the kill with the Titanic Hydra, whereas Svenskeren and Hauntzer are now fighting a jungler who's behind and a support, and they are able to pick up Moon there. Because Svenskeren, man, he's landing a lot of those Qs now in this mid-game.
Oh,
needs to stun and a Q.
Bjergsen, one more Q, excellent solo kill. He's Syndra. Oh boy, there's a reason it's always banned.
Yeah, and I like what he did there, because he didn't go for the Scatter the Weak stun initially. He ended up popping Ghost so he can move around a little bit faster and close in. Then he goes for the catch-up, throws down the ultimate, has all these balls on the ground, and then goes for the Scatter of the Weak and the Q.
All right, well, Chaos continues here. Bjergsen going to keep pushing top side, but FlyQuest batter down the mid lane with their two marksmen and a Tahm. Kench. Moon even going to join the party. Well, I actually going aggressive on the DoubleLift. Now the Jhin ulti, no, first tag's not good. Second does hit. DoubleLift needs to dodge this last one. Does do so. I'm not sure it was enough to kill him anyway. Yeah,
no Deathfire touch anymore for Jhin, so you don't see that big burst damage or the burn down afterwards. Oh, we'll see what happens when he ends up getting Infinity Edge. He's at 1,200 gold right now on WildTurtle, who's been doing pretty well himself this game. He was good in CS up until a bit ago. TSM picked up so much off of that fight, especially, like you were saying, Svenskeren in the jungle.
Yeah, 3-1-1. Actually, it's a Black Cleaver now completed.
Yep.
Alongside his Warrior and Shen. Working on the Riptide here as Biofrost going to join in to finish it off. Sven, though, has to book it out of the way. Smites.
It's not going to open the eye again because it's below 2k. You have to get the smite.
Smite fight! Oh, goes to Moon and Sven jumps in. Doesn't quite get out as he flashes the wall to try and save himself. Kicked one out. There was Baron also spawning. Could get the knockup.
Oh, looking for Svenskeren.
Good route there for Sven. Total going to keep trying to chase it down, but the rest of TSM are chasing down the rest of FlyQuest. So Svenskeren is going to have to try and dodge out of the way as high. He's going to get tagged. Good eat there from Lemon with a great double knockup by Biofrost. The ultimate follows out. Good ult there returning from Ball. As Moon does take down Sven finally in the top half, and ulti from Bjergsen is going to secure the kill, and Hauntzer managed to take down Moon.
Yeah, they were chasing Svenskeren for so long. He gets a Shen ultimate,
oh no,
and now it scales off of how much missing HP the person has, so he got this gigantic shield, and Moon couldn't kill him in time. WildTurtle wasn't really helping too much anymore, and that was just a trail off. You can't go chasing those kind of kills off on the side forever, and FlyQuest fall prey to that.
Well, but you're wondering just how much action there is in this game. During the last replay round, we had another replay run after this where more kills happen, and there's still so much action, we can't run the replay. So, I mean, it's been a really chaotic game there. 13 kills already, and this is the pace that I think FlyQuest are used to, is watch this fight again.
Yeah, Svenskeren gets rooted on the top side, and then WildTurtle, a big damage source for the team, runs after and chases him, and he'll get ultied, but only Moon is on him. Turtle goes off to the right to check there. And yeah, gets a big shield so he doesn't die to the dunk, and Moon just doesn't have the damage anymore, and he gets picked up as a counter kill. And WildTurtle got to do no damage in that fight afterwards because he was just chasing and looking at the options, trying to cut off Svenskeren. But it was good by TSM to realize, all right, it's 4v3 or 3v3 in this part of the map, and we have more gold on these carries.
That's one of the toughest things, I think, playing a team like TSM, because if you want to play fast, they will play with you high, going back in, but a double tag from Biofrost almost stuns two members of FlyQuest. Hauntzer does complete the TP in towards the Drake pit, and it's back up, so TSM looking to force another fight. Drake already started.
Yeah, Ball's no teleport right now, but he will have TP advantage for a bit afterwards. See as he clears out that wave.
Meanwhile, DoubleLift now with two items.
They used Rift Herald.
Has spawned. DoubleLift's like, yep, I'm going to go shoot this.
Pay attention to me.
Busy chasing down the monster. Oh, and that's not going to be a lot of damage at all.
Yep, because he got to hit it in the eye twice, took away a lot of it, and it does percent of its HP to turrets, so ends up not really doing much there.
And then DoubleLift again. Walking back in, dodges the stun from Turtle, and looks like TSM are trying to siege down that last outer turret. 2-1 up in turrets for the squad right now. Have a few kills ahead of FlyQuest also, and more, maybe most importantly, 3,500 gold up. So all of that chaos, all of the things that FlyQuest have tried to do have backfired here and there. TSM's responses have been very good, and as a result, they've kind of built themselves up a nice lead, particularly holding, again, in that jungle position. But top half of the map total there for TSM's looking real good.
Yeah, it's looking really good for TSM right now. Everybody has a whole bunch of gold over their opponent. Nobody is really behind in a one-on-one. And as a split-pushing team, or a team that wants to kind of 1-3-1 a bit and then group up and team fight as FlyQuest, because they have double teleport, but then they also have this Jarvan plus Rumble combo that can be devastating if flashes are down. You definitely want to have that gold advantage. So, like that.
Oh, good package there. But Hauntzer going to answer on the other side. Almost takes down high. And now Biofrost and Svenskeren are already here. Balls gets tagged. Sven going for high, kicks in for the execution exhaust. Down and onto Balls as DoubleLift jumps on the stun lands and Bjergsen gets the kill. Again, TSM's responses are just too good.
Yeah, it's too fast for FlyQuest to react to. The Shen is helping out, and then the rotations here, everybody in sync. And this is going to be a Baron startup here. Moon in the area, though.
He's around, but blind.
They're trying to get him some vision here. Lemonnation walking up. He puts down some wards for that time that he can see.
Yep, again,
Bjergsen again trying to scatter the weak here.
Oh, WildTurtle actually is getting some shots in. They're stopping some DPS on the Baron. Moon. There's a quite big
in there.
Left into the pit. He has to go in blind. DoubleLift takes him down. Baron secured by TSM.
Yeah, and TSM stopped DPS at about 2,500 and said, all right, we're waiting for this, because they're able to have some members fight outside the pit and interrupt Turtle's ultimate and make sure that they aren't doing some extra damage to that Baron.
And again, it might look silly for Moon to just go in and die, but he has no vision. He has to try and make a play, and it all started by this attempt on Bjergsen's life.
Yeah, Hyde jumps in, but then immediately Bjergsen, who's up a level right now, just throws out the ultimate, almost kills High on entry, and then Svenskeren walks up, gives him the kick, then takes the Q to balls. Svenskeren, this first pick Lee Sin, is working wonders for him right now. The guy, 4, 2, and 4, highest skill participation on the team, actually right next to Hauntzer, who's one up on him with that Shen ultimate. So yeah, they're both doing great right now. Top half of the map, like you said, definitely clicking right now for TSM.
Certainly are, and now turrets are just getting destroyed. TSM plow through 2 there in the mid lane. They've got the Mountain Drake and the Baron buff for 2.5 minutes longer, and it's just standard rotations right now. Hauntzer's prepped this bottom side wave already, so turret number 5 is going to fall in a significantly less time than it took to take 2.
Yep. And now this gold advantage for them. 9,000 up for Team Solomid, and FlyQuest kind of flailing about right now. They had those early skirmishes, but the skirmishes, they're not even playing the skirmishes correctly, and that's what's getting them right now.
I mean, that's, I think, has to feel bad when you're kind of getting out FlyQuested by the other team in some ways. I mean, FlyQuest are starting a lot of these fights, but it feels like teams have kind of learned how that style worked and were able to react well and just respond as a team. And when FlyQuest don't catch you off guard, it does feel like their execution is sometimes lacking, and it's going to cost you in spots. If you go for it all with high-risk team fights, it's going to cost you all when you lose them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And look at this Moon.
All right, once again, good combo. Great off from Ball for the stuns. Landing onto Moon as he falls down. Turret low, but they're ignoring it as there's the double kill in for Bjergsen. That's 2 as double flashes forward, trying to take a few more out. The inhibitor's now exposed, and Turtle going to try and fend them off with the Jhin ult, but Biofrost ready with the shield. Inhibitor falls down. Hauntzer gets tagged a few more, but Biofrost just going to exit stage left.
And they just don't have enough gold on their side for FlyQuest right now. Ball's sitting on 1.5 items right now. Doesn't have something like the Sorcerer's Shoes to have more magic penetration, went for the Tabai, and doesn't even have Zhonya's Hourglass. So he's 2,000 gold down behind Hauntzer, 2,700. And basically that combo looked like it would be good, but it wasn't. There's not enough damage.
All right, well, 7 turrets now for TSM. That'll be quite the Baron power players. They're more than 10,000 gold ahead, but FlyQuest again, they have to try something, but they're so far behind here.
And this looked like, DoubleLift and Bjergsen both got pushed out instead of kept inside. So, flash there from Bjergsen as well. It's pretty much just over after that combo, because that was a combo that you go, that's the money right there. That's where we get back in this game as FlyQuest, but they're just too far behind at this point.
Yep, and it does feel like, again, if the goal is closer, if you're ahead, that fight looks so much better, but FlyQuest just play to get such a big lead as early on as possible. I mean, it all started with Moon's initial visit to that mid lane at level 2, and it's kind of all gone wrong from there.
Yeah, he was spotted, I believe, by the little remaining duration on the Raptor pit ward, and Bjergsen was playing to the bottom side because he knew that the jungler was on the top side, so just positioned himself standard in the mid lane and made sure the level 2 didn't come through, which is one of the strengths of Jarvan, is that level 2 gank. But it didn't succeed. It put him very far behind. You can even see in Moon's item builds, very far behind Svenskeren now, but also went for a Knight's Vow second item. Trying to keep High a little bit safer. And they also have another Knight's Vow here from Lemonnation, so they're just double Knight's Vow trying to keep their carries safe.
And they've got 2 good carries, but they're going to need to scale a little further. TSM, in the meantime, are pressuring top and bot with the super minions doing the work for them in the mid lane. So 3-lane pressure effectively here for TSM, and turrets should start to fall even faster. Baron buff has dropped off, but that's the end of the good news currently for FlyQuest.
Yeah, some more bad news for them is that Hauntzer in the top lane, 11 out of those 13 kills he's been a part of, Gargoyle, Stoneplate, Titanic Hydra. I feel like nobody can really 1v1 Hauntzer right now because he's 2 levels up over Balls, 1 up over High. Yeah, he's just so far ahead. He's at that point, that threshold where you're just fighting a tank. You're like, why is he doing more damage to me than I'm doing to him in like every trade? So Hauntzer in a very good spot to kind of just do Shen things and just keep pushing the lane.
And the answer may be pull more people to that top lane. Hauntzer is like clearing out that vision though, as you can see, approaching 7,000 gold for that Baron power play. That has to be one of the biggest of the split.
Yeah, there's been some pretty heavy
There have
ones,
been
for
some
sure.
pretty ridiculous Baron plays already. But not a bad one, certainly. I think TSM will be happy with that number. I'll also be happy that 3 items pretty much everywhere. You mentioned the tanks already in that top side for Hauntzer, and in some ways Svenskeren. 3 items also on the carries, which means that FlyQuest and all of their champions are feeling fairly under threat.
Yeah, and DoubleLift already has boots, has 3 items, and now he's working towards another one there. Some lifesteal for himself. But yeah, all the carries are just ready to go, and all the tanks too. So TSM pretty much in the driver's seat. And they have a Tristana with 2 Mountain Drakes. These turrets should be like butter.
And they've got enough time as well with the supers in mid lane, so time to see it once more. Again, damage coming out high. Needs 2 more autos. Oh, there's a stun, but a good eat from Lemon. Devours high up and keeps him safe, but even that might just be enough poke for TSM to keep sieging and just knock down that one of these inhibitor turrets. As soon as one falls, it feels like the game's just going to break completely open. DoubleLift, all that free time. Feels good for the Trist. Oh, a little lifesteal here as well. Bio trapped in there, but who's trapped in with who? DoubleLift on a killing field, take down Lemon Moon. Low does go down to Sven. Turret's gonna fall. DoubleLift hop, skip and a jump over for the reset. Says Turtle going down. Another jump for DoubleLift. Another jump for DoubleLift and high. He's gonna get chased all the way into the fountain.
And the only surviving member now from FlyQuest, TSM are gonna take game 1.
All right, Nexus turrets under siege. DoubleLift smelling blood. Once the ace is high, retreats to his fountain to try and defend, but the Nexus will be left exposed and open as they're looking to try and dive it in. TSM, they'll give it up. High will stay alive, but the Nexus will not. Shut down there at the end. DoubleLift goes down, but TSM take game 1.
TSM able to play the style a little bit better than FlyQuest there. The Jarvan pick did not work out. 2-6-2 for Moon at the end of the game there. He went for those early ganks. It put him a bit behind. It didn't work out. It was the gambit that they took. And if that ends up working, it's a completely different game. But they took that risk. The risk didn't pay off against TSM. And now FlyQuest, the struggle for them is, the standard didn't work for them. The oddball pick didn't really work for them here. And they got to find a way to take down TSM, who, like I said, is looking like one of the stronger teams right now. Even though their record shows that they're 4-2, they've only lost to those top teams.
I mean, the TSM. Like, really? Are you going to doubt that TSM aren't going to be good at least by the time the split ends?
I feel like you can't say they're TSM as an analytical statement. It's like,
I mean, they've been every final, so that's pretty good as far as their pedigree goes. So we're actually going to break down the game here again, looking at that team comp. I liked a lot of the elements of both drafts, actually. I think TSM picked smartly to try and counter a lot of expected things from FlyQuest. I mean, Syndra is such a robust mid laner, particularly for Bjergsen. But FlyQuest also, I like what they did. For me, it just really comes down more to execution. I feel like FlyQuest just throw themselves at the enemy team sometime, and team's like, okay, I'll just
yeah, because the Jarvan could have worked out, and we saw the combo come online, but it didn't have enough damage behind it because of the top lane. But there was a few fights in there where you're going, okay, FlyQuest looked like they could have a numbers advantage here, or they could actually just win this fight. Like the one that happened where WildTurtle just gets pulled up to the top side and doesn't do any damage in it. And then the one that happened in the river as well was very important.
And that's his replay. So watch how this happens. Bjergsen looks like a bad time to start things off.
Yeah, this ends up being a 4v5 in favor of FlyQuest because they pick off Bjergsen, but then it's just a split fight here. So WildTurtle and Balls are off on the side, and then it just gets picked up. And now I like how Biofrost and Svenskeren are positioning themselves around the corner, and Biofrost's ultimate cuts off both Turtle and Balls from doing anything here, whereas DoubleLift just keeps putting out DPS, doesn't have to flash or heal at the beginning of that fight when the equalizer comes down, and then they route them, and then they pick up the kills. So yeah, this is just a well-played fight here from TSM, but at the same time, there's one that FlyQuest ends up not having the right positioning in. And I like there at the end, Biofrost, he's about to die to the last shot of Jhin, puts up his shield, make sure he doesn't die with the Unbreakable there.
I mean, in general, across the board, really solid performance there for TSM, just kind of playing every turn correctly. That fight went heavily in their favor, and the game really snowballed out of control from there. If you have a look at that goal graph, just that's the hill that TSM sped up very quickly, and FlyQuest just started tumbling down it.
Yeah, it was a very fast game as well. 30 minutes for themselves, and DoubleLift you saw with 24,000 damage there in that game, more than pretty much everybody on his team. So I feel like he kind of went unnoticed in this game because there was just so much poking back and forth. But there's a lot of players that stood out in this game to me. It was especially like Hauntzer with his ultimate, Svenskeren with the playmaking. And Bjergsen also, with the way he was avoiding Moon in the early game and playing around and avoiding that pressure.
I mean, we saw Moon on screen. We have to talk about that Jarvan jungle once again. I mean, scoreline not impressive. The pick itself has been very good, particularly in the top lane. But you said yourself, it has also been seeing some attention in Soul. I mean, I think this can work. I don't know if it's necessarily the pick that was bad here or if the execution was just a little off as a team effort for FlyQuest.
Yeah, well, if you think about the level 1, they got more information on TSM's side where they warded the blue and they warded the Raptors, which means that you're not getting that level 2 gank off without them knowing what side of the map you're on, most likely for that level 2. Because you start the blue side, they're going to see you there. You start the red, and you get caught by that Raptor ward on the way out. So Bjergsen's able to choose which side of the lane he wants. So it's a team effort there to avoid that gank in the early game, and the Braum pick helped them put themselves in the jungle.
Yeah, it feels like great preparation, paying dividends there for TSM. Well, we're taking a quick break, but before we go to commercial, let's send it over to this week's episode of This or That with Kobe and